Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're stripping away the tabloid headlines and looking at something that honestly feels like the third act of a very tense political thriller. Except, tragically and fascinatingly, it is actually happening, and it's happening right now.
It really is.
We're talking about a story that has completely jumped the borders of the United States and is currently shaking the windows of power from Oslo to Paris, even down to Bratislava.
It's remarkable. Usually when we look at these types of news cycles, these scandals, they tend to be localized.
Right, contained.
Exactly. Contained within one government or one industry. But this is a global phenomenon. We're looking at a domino effect of resignations, suspensions, criminal investigation.
All rippling out from one specific catalyst.
The release of the new Epstein files.
Exactly. And just to be clear for everyone listening, we aren't rehashing old stories here. This isn't the gossip column thing.
No.
We're looking at the new fallout. We're talking about names you would not expect. People involved in high-stakes peace negotiations, national security, global economic forums.
Right.
It's like someone kicked an anthill, you know? But the anthill happens to be the upper echelon of international diplomacy.
That is a very apt analogy. What we're seeing is this violent collision of private actions or alleged actions with very public duties.
Yeah.
And the central question we're going to explore in this deep dive is, why now? Why are these specific figures stepping down at this specific moment? Because when you look at the stack of reports we have from Norway, France, Slovakia, Sweden, a pattern emerges. It's a pattern of accountability or, well, maybe a frantic scramble for damage control.
Yeah, scramble definitely feels like the right word when you read through these timelines. So we've got the stack of reports, and honestly, some of the details are just, well, they're shocking.
They are.
We're going to connect the dots between these seemingly isolated resignations. So let's not waste any time. I want to start in Norway because this one really, really threw me for a loop.
Norway is arguably the most significant place to start because of the sheer stature of the person involved.
Right.
We're talking about Mona Juul.
And for those who might not be deep into, like, 1990s diplomatic history, Mona Juul isn't just some mid-level bureaucrat.
Not at all.
She is a legend in that world. She and her husband were instrumental in negotiating the Oslo Accords.
Precisely. She's a diplomat of the highest order. Her career has been defined by navigating incredibly complex, sensitive geopolitical landscapes. Israel, Palestine, the UN.
She's the person you call when you need to solve the unsolvable.
And now she has been suspended from her post as ambassador. And what makes this situation technically fascinating, incredibly serious, is the legal maneuvering happening in the background.
You're talking about the immunity thing, right? I read that and had to do a double take.
Yes. The reports indicate that authorities are looking into potentially revoking her diplomatic immunity to facilitate this investigation.
Wow.
Now, we need to pause and appreciate what that means. That is not a step taken lightly. Diplomatic immunity is the bedrock of international relations.
Right. It's there. So a host country can't just arrest an ambassador to apply political pressure. It's supposed to be, like, inviolable.
Exactly. So to even discuss piercing that veil, for her own government to consider stripping that protection, that suggests the allegations are viewed with extreme seriousness.
Yeah, you don't do that for a minor administrative error.
No. This signals they are looking for something substantial.
And when you look at why they're doing this, okay, let's unpack the financial side because this is the detail that made my jaw drop.
It's the money that changes the complexion of this entirely.
The files didn't just say she knew him.
No. According to the files released, Epstein allegedly left $10 million to Juul's children in his will.
$10 million. I mean, I have to pause on that number. That's not a thanks for coming to dinner gift.
It's generational wealth.
Yeah. It's a staggering sum.
And this is where the conflict of interest becomes the central issue. If you are a high-ranking diplomat and your family is the beneficiary of $10 million from a foreign financier with a notorious reputation, it raises massive questions.
It's a question of leverage, isn't it?
It is the definition of leverage. In the intelligence world, or the diplomatic world, that kind of money creates a debt. It creates an entanglement, even if nothing was explicitly sold in return. The appearance of being bankrolled is a career-ending vulnerability. It raises questions about judgment, independence, and what exactly was expected in return.
It changes the whole conversation from did they hang out to was there a transaction.
Exactly. It moves from social association to financial entanglement.
Yeah.
And for a diplomat, Financial entanglement is the ultimate red line.
You just can't operate.
You can't. Not if there's a $10 million question mark hanging over your neutrality.
So you have a top diplomat in Norway suspended over this inheritance issue. But then you look over at Switzerland, specifically at the World Economic Forum, the WEF, and the ripples are hitting there too.
They are.
And this connects back to Norway in a weird way, doesn't it?
It does. It shows you just how small this world of the elite really is. Well, we're looking at Berge Brende. He's currently the chairman and CEO of the World Economic Forum.
The Davos guy.
The Davos guy, right.
Yeah.
But previously, he served as Norway's foreign minister. So you see this tightness in these circles.
Okay, so what's the situation with Brenda? Because the WEF is huge. If they're involved, this is about the global economy, not just politics.
Well, the revelation here comes from flight logs and schedules in the files. They revealed Brenda had 3 business dinners with Epstein, along with various email exchanges.
3, okay.
Now, in that world, dinners are common. It's part of the job. But the context matters.
And the response from the WEF has been interesting. It's not total silence, which is usually the play.
No, it's quite proactive. The WEF announced it has launched an independent review of its chairman. But here is the nuance. Brenda claims he requested this review himself.
The get ahead of it strategy.
Exactly.
Investigate me, I have nothing to hide.
It's a classic crisis management move. His defense, and we see this a lot in these files, is the unaware defense. He claims he was, quote, completely unaware of Epstein's past.
Okay, I have to pause there. Look, I want to give everyone the benefit of the doubt, but we're talking about the head of the World Economic Forum, a former foreign minister.
Right.
These are people with access to the best intelligence, the best background checks on the planet. How does the I didn't know defense even land in that world?
It lands with a great deal of skepticism. That's the polite way to put it. You're correct. These institutions rely on vetting. That's their bread and butter.
So to say you were unaware,
it suggests a failure of due diligence, at best.
It feels like a catch-22. Either you knew and went to dinner anyway, which is bad judgment, or you didn't know, which implies you're just not good at vetting people you do business with.
Precisely. And from an institutional perspective, the WEF has no choice. They rely on credibility. Their product is trust and influence.
They can't risk it.
They cannot have a chairman with a cloud of suspicion over his head. So the institution is forced to go through the motions to prove to the world that they aren't compromised. It's about organizational survival. They call it institutional hygiene.
Institutional hygiene. I like that term. It sounds so clinical. Speaking of, well, maybe not clinical, but aggressive, let's jump over to France, because here it feels less corporate and a little more visceral.
Yes, the situation in France has a different flavor. We're looking at Jack Lang, the former culture minister. He's currently the director of the Arab World Institute.
A huge figure in France.
A massive figure in their cultural and political life.
And he wasn't just asked for a comment. The word they used was summoned.
Summoned. Sounds like you're in trouble with the principal, but the principal is the French government.
Yeah.
He was summoned to the foreign ministry to explain his ties. This is a formal demand for accountability. It's the state saying, come here and explain yourself on the record.
And the pressure for him to resign is just mounting. But what's fascinating here, and tragic in a way, is how this spills over.
You're talking about his family.
Yes. His daughter, Caroline Lang, has already resigned from her position. She was heading a film producers union.
That is a critical detail.
That's rough. I mean, she resigned before the investigation and their father was even concluded, right?
That appears to be the case.
Yeah.
And this illustrates the radioactive nature of these associations right now.
It just spreads like a virus.
It does. In these elite circles, professional positions are intertwined with family legacies and networks. When the patriarch's reputation collapses, the network that supported the family, it often collapses too.
It becomes impossible to operate.
Exactly. In the court of public opinion, merely being in the proximity of this scandal is enough to end a career. The reputational toxicity is so high that institutions and families are cutting ties immediately to stop the bleeding.
It's like if your name is in the files, a clock starts ticking, not just for you, but for everyone around you.
Precisely. And for some, that clock has already run out. This brings us to the resignations that have already happened. We need to look at Slovakia and Sweden.
Yeah, let's go to Slovakia first. This one. Honestly, this one scared me a little bit because in the guy's job title.
Miroslav Lajcek.
Yeah. We're not talking culture or economics here.
Like now, the National Security Advisor.
That is a heavy title. The person responsible for the safety, the secrets, the intelligence strategy of a nation.
A critical role.
And he's gone. Resigned on January 31st.
Yes. And the evidence against him in the files was quite specific. It wasn't just flight logs. Documents revealed text message exchanges between Lajak and Epstein.
And the reports say these texts were about women.
About women. That phrase does a lot of heavy lifting.
Oof. It feels incredibly sordid.
It does. It implies a personal, perhaps illicit dynamic. Now, it is important to note that despite resigning, Lajak denied any wrongdoing.
Right, he denied it. But he still quit. And I guess my question is, if you're innocent, why quit?
Because of the specific nature of his role in national security, the appearance of vulnerability, or the possibility of blackmail, it's disqualifying.
Right, compromise.
Exactly. You cannot have a national security advisor with potential compromising material floating around in the files of a deceased criminal.
Because if those texts exist, a foreign adversary could have them too.
We have the texts, do what we want. The risk is too high, the liability is absolute. So even with the denial, the resignation was inevitable. He became a security risk.
Then we have Sweden. Joanna Rubinstein, she was the chair for the UNHCR in Sweden, the UN Refugee Agency.
Another humanitarian role.
And her case? Well, the evidence was physical.
Correct. The files revealed she had actually visited Epstein's private island.
See, that's a distinct visual. Text messages are one thing. Being on the island is a whole different level of involvement.
It creates a visceral connection to the center of the crimes. And remember her role, the refugee agency.
Right.
That requires immense moral authority. You are advocating for the most vulnerable people on Earth.
And you can't really do that if you've been, hanging out at the epicenter of abuse.
It is impossible to maintain that moral high ground. The hypocrisy would be too loud.
So we have texts in Slovakia, island visits for the Swedish official, money in Norway, dinners for the WEF guy. It's this whole mix of evidence, digital, financial, physical, but the result is the same.
Resignation, suspension, investigation. It is a sweeping cleaning house.
That's exactly what I wanted to ask you about. Let's zoom out. We've got all these dots. Norway, France, Slovakia, Sweden. Why is this happening all at once? I mean, Epstein has been in the news for years. Why did the dam break now?
It comes down to the nature of the released documents. We aren't dealing with rumors anymore. We're not dealing with anonymous sources.
Those are the receipts.
It is the receipts. We are dealing with wills, flight logs, text messages, direct financial records. When you have a document that says $10 million to X, institutions can no longer ignore it.
They have to act to save face.
They have to. The Norwegian foreign minister, Espen Barth Eide, put it very clearly. He said, "It is crucial that the facts of this case come to light."
Crucial that the facts come to light. That sounds like a warning shot to everyone else, doesn't it?
It is a recognition that the genie is out of the bottle. Governments realize that if they try to hide this, or if they move too slowly, they will be dragged down with the individuals.
So they're just cutting them loose.
It's a simultaneous purge. They're cutting off the infected limbs to save the body. It is brutal logic, but it's the only move they have left.
It's ruthless, but I guess it has to be.
It is necessary. But we should also pause and reflect on the human element here. Not to sympathize, but to acknowledge the scale of the fall. These are people at the absolute pinnacles of their careers.
Negotiators of the Oslo Accords, leaders of the World Economic Forum.
National security advisors, these are the people who run the world, effectively. And their entire legacies are now being permanently managed and perhaps destroyed by these revelations.
It's a reminder that no matter how high up you aren't immune to the truth when it finally comes out.
Precisely. The files are not just history books. They are active political disruptors in the present day.
So just to recap for everyone listening, because there were a lot of names and locations, we've got Mona Juul suspended in Norway over a $10 million inheritance question.
Right.
We've got Burj Brenda at the WEF under independent review. Jack Lang in France summoned, with his daughter already resigning as collateral damage. Slovakia's national security advisor out over text messages about women. And Sweden's UNHCR chair resigned for visiting the island.
A global sweep.
It really is. And, usually we wrap these deep dives up with a nice little bow, but this feels messy. It feels like we are just at the beginning of this.
Transparency is often painful, and it is almost always chaotic. But it is the only way to restore trust. The question is, how much more is there?
That's the big question.
And that leads me to a provocative thought to leave with you. We are seeing these names drop now based on texts, dinners, wills. But what happens to the institutions that fail to investigate their own leaders?
Right.
What is happening in the corridors of power where the silence is deafening? Are we watching a temporary scandal, just a few bad apples being tossed out? Or are we witnessing a permanent reshaping of who we trust with global diplomacy?
Yeah. If this is what we know about what is happening in the places that aren't launching investigations, that is something to think about.
Indeed. If this is the visible tip of the iceberg, the underwater portion could be enough to sink quite a few more ships.
Well, on that cheery note, that's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one. Stay curious.